Hey guys, Kev here, and I am ready to do my review / overview on the Ferum Forge Archbishop Lefty. So guys, this is such a cool knife. I am so grateful to Ethan, my buddy, my Lefty brother, for loaning this in. He absolutely loves this knife. I have kind of tried to get it from him, and he really does not want to give it up unless I trade him something unique or rare or something like that that I probably don't want to trade. Because this is a unique and rare piece because it's left-handed. And it is really good. So get ready for a good review here, guys. This Archbishop is phenomenal. Again, I'm going to start off by just saying there's not many of these around. I think they made 15 of these in Lefty, and I've never seen one before on the secondary anywhere. The only one I've seen is this one that he has. So that is really exciting. It is like a kind of mid-tech type knife. It's made by We. It's probably like 4 or 5 years old at this point. The Ferum Forge used to do kind of these premium knives with We. Now they do more of that Civivi kind of stuff, like the Stinger and the Mini Archbishop and that kind of stuff. I guess they do the Malice, and so they do have some, I take that back. They do have some premium models, but the more premium ones are under the We kind of umbrella. So it's the We Malice, designed by Ferum Forge, right? I think I'm right about that. This is actually, marked as a Ferum Forge knife. This was sold by Ferum Forge as a Ferum Forge knife. OEM was We. So the difference there is an OEM is an original equipment manufacturer, right? And you as a designer or a company hire them to make your knife, and it is branded as your knife. You pay them for the knife work, they ship them to you, and you sell them. It is a Ferum Forge knife being sold, but it was just made by We. The other version of that is where you design a knife, and they license it basically, or you license it to them. They put their logo on it, and maybe yours too, because they know that'll help sell it, that it's a Ferum Forge design. And then you get royalties for that knife. So every one of those that sells, you get 5% of the sale, right? In the other version, you paid for your knives up front. You paid $150 a knife for them to make it, okay? So let's say you ordered 200, and let's just round this down to $100 a knife. That's what We charges. And you ordered 200 of them. Okay, so you just had to send We $20,000, if I can do math right. I suck at math, but you sent We $20,000, and you got your 200 knives back. And then you sell those knives for whatever you want. So now you could sell your $200 knives, or your 200 knives, for $300 each. Now you're going to make $200 on each one, right? Now, of course, that $100 doesn't factor in all the packaging and shipping you're going to have to do. But that's the way some people go about it. Like Vero. He has his knives made by Best Tech, but it's all marked as his knife and sold by him in however fashion he feels like it. But then there's people like Ferum Forge or Elijah Isham or Dylan Mallory who do a lot of designs and license them to companies. So it's just two different ways of doing it, and I apologize for going into that, but if anybody is new to the knife world, that kind of can be confusing. I know I was confused by it at first. I was like, wait, it's Best Tech? But why is it Vero? This makes no sense. And then you kind of learn who the OEMs are. And spoiler alert, the best one is Riot, hands down. But anyway, This knife was made by we for Ferum Forge, all right? And it was, I think it was a pretty small run because, again, I haven't seen these around. But this is the Archbishop. And they do have the mini Archbishop that, again, is made by we. That's sold, you know, they still sell it right now, but it's kind of a budget knife. It's like $70 with 9CR. This is M390 steel and titanium handles. So this is a premium knife, guys. Really, really cool knife. So aesthetically, it is that Archbishop type look, right? You have this drop point blade with that interesting hole for deployment. A lot of belly here, and then the the Ferum Forge choil. They always have choils. That's why I love them. Flipper tab, another kind of choil here. And then you have this kind of rounded, extended swell right here. Back to an angled kind of butt. And then it kind of rounds from here all the way to the tip. I really like the look of this knife. It kind of is aggressive, but muted at the same time. It kind of reminds me a little bit of a CKF Evo without a sheep's foot. I really think it's a cool looking knife. I definitely dig this design. I did own a mini Archbishop for a while, and then I gave it away in a raffle or something. But yeah, you have this bead blasted stonewashed. I don't know. It looks like a blasted blade. Again, it's M390. I'd say it's about 3.5 inches, right? Here's a bug out. Yep. So it's about 3.5 inches there of blade length, maybe 3.3. And yeah, so I think aesthetically it's really good looking. This has this blue ano on the handles, which is awesome. This is an aftermarket clip he had put on with this ugly ass ano. Sorry, Ethan, but it's ugly. He probably did it himself. But overall, it's a good-looking knife. So, Ergonomics, guys. Ferum Forge, man. I gotta tell you, there's like 2 or 3 designers or design companies that I know I'm gonna get a comfortable knife every fucking time. And Ferum Forge is one of those. They always have super comfortable knives. Voxnez is another one. I'm trying to think if there's a third. There is that I just can't think of right now. Liang Ma. Liang Ma is the third one. Every knife I get in hand, it just melts in your hand. But yeah, so you have this back grip here. I can fit all 4 fingers on comfortably. It's a comfortable grip, guys. Nothing wrong with it. My finger actually lands on the jimping, which is nice. But it has a finger choil, and I love me a finger choil, guys. And it just, it's so comfortable. I just love having a finger choil so much because it gets you up by the blade, right? And at the same time, it extends your grip back here and makes it just so much more comfortable to hold. Would I prefer it without a flipper tab? Yes. I think this knife would be an absolute home run if they got rid of the flipper tab. I don't need this. I much prefer that. And then it would help with the ergos if you didn't have this little crook right here, right? But it's still very comfortable. Ergos are good. That'll take me into action. The shining feature of this knife, guys, is the action, the detent. This is one of the only knives ever that I've gotten from we where the detent is dialed in perfectly. The only other one I've ever had is the Civivi Riffle. I absolutely adore that budget knife. It is amazing for the money. And this is the same. They just got it perfectly. It is not lazy, and that is what we tends to do, is lazy detents. And they seem to be inconsistent. So at least on this one, it's so good on the flip, right? It does have some detent lash, which would normally bother the shit out of me, and it does a little bit, but everything else about this knife is so good that I kind of overlook it. Okay, so the flipper, good detent. The middle finger flick, is absolute heaven. I'm left-handed, so I don't get the pleasure of a just perfectly dialed hole for deployment action. A lot of those knives are right-handed frame locks, and then I end up with my finger on the frame lock, and it just is a pain in the ass, and I have to maneuver and do all these things. Like the Evo 2.0 is one of my favorite knives, and sometimes I have that issue with it, but most of the time it's fine, so I love it. But the Artisan Knives Arian I just reviewed, I couldn't even open it. So just having a Lefty version, it feels so good. That middle finger flick is just perfect. I cannot stress enough how perfect this Detent is dialed in by Wii. They absolutely knocked it out of the park with that. Can I thumb flick it? I've never even tried. See, now I'm resting my fingers on the lock bar. This is a reverse problem now. Yeah, I can't do it. I can't thumb flick it. But I don't care, because I just want to Spidey flick it. Right-handed, here's the opposite problem. See, I can't get it out because my thumb is on the lock bar. I have to hold it like up by the pivot, and then you don't get enough pressure, and it kind of flops out, and it's just not as fun. This feels so satisfying. So good. Anyway, we didn't even talk about the closing action. Look at this guillotine just drop. I mean, guys, this thing is absolutely incredible. I love it so much. All right, that was action. Cutting. This thing has a fantastic edge on it. I'd venture to guess that Ethan put this on himself. It is stupid thin, stupid sharp, cuts like a dream. Absolutely fantastic on the blade. Full flat grind, or not full, but flat grind. Very well done. And Wii always does a good job with heat treat and blade geometry and thickness behind the edge. They always do well with that. So that is good. The carry on this knife, you have this aftermarket clip. It is reversible, which is weird. But I'm guessing, I don't know why that is actually. Because if I was right-handed, I would not want to carry this knife because you can't flick it. I guess you can do the flipper, but I would just buy the right-handed version. I don't know. It's super weird that it's tapped for righty. It goes in and out of pocket fine. It's good. I don't like this flipper tab here. It's kind of sharp and pokey. Again, if this was my knife, I'd probably do a flipper delete, honestly, because it's so good. But I guess Ethan likes to have that option because, I mean, the flipper is really good as well. But I would just prefer it without that there at all. But yeah, carry is fine. It's not great, but it's fine. Especially coming from a lefty, I deal with a lot of issues with carry, and just having it be left-handed almost is like a win, right? Sounds. Yeah, sounds are really good, guys. These titanium scales with this backspacer, it reverberates in there. It just sounds, so good. It thunders out. It sort of reminds me of my Something Obscene Company J-Cape. It just has this kind of firearm sense to it. The sounds on this are really good, guys. It would have to be like a 7 or 8 out of 10. Really good on sounds. All right, so that covers everything except for value and recommendations. And those are kind of mute points, or is it moot? Moot points. Because you can't get this knife, right? I think it was like $250, let's call it. Or at least that might be what he paid. So maybe it was more like $300 new. And it's worth every penny of that. It truly is. I mean, yeah, without the detent lash, it's worth that, okay? The detent lash sucks a little bit, but that's an individual problem, right? This knife is totally worth $250, but you can't get one, so there's no really, recommendations, same thing. Yeah, I recommend this to everybody that's left-handed. And then if you're right-handed, I recommend the right-hand version because it's going to be the same thing, just right-handed. It's so good. The action is butter. That deployment alone just makes my day every time I flick it. It really does. It just makes me smile inside. And, oh, it's so good. So, absolutely fantastic knife. I am so grateful to Ethan for letting me check this out. Perfectly centered, by the way. Just one of those knives that, like, I didn't know existed, and it shows up at my door and just blew me away. And I wish it was mine, but it's not. So, I'm going to go ahead and send this back to my buddy. And, yeah, guys, I really appreciate you listening and watching me rant and rave as usual. Sorry. I love you all so much. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will catch you later.